Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics with my answer to Allan's weekly top 10 challenge for this week. 10 historical keys. Now, most of the keys I've picked are pretty minor, but they all are historical in some small bit, which I will try to explain, of course, with each book. They're not exactly the world's greatest books, and there's no huge keys here. There are some keys. I mean, well, they're all a key of some sort, or they wouldn't be here in the first place. Historical keys, right? But they all have some neat little story behind them, and that's what I was really going for when I pulled each book. With the exception of the last three, they're in no particular order. And I say this because there's not 10 books here. There's slightly more than 10. I think there's 11, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 11 books, but two are tied to each other, and so therefore this forms 10 stories, so to speak, and 10 historical keys. The first one that I'm going to do is All-Star Comics 58. And the reason this is a key is not only did they create a Supergirl counterpart in Power Girl, whose first appearance this is the first time in almost 30 years, because it was 1948, was the last time a new member was introduced to the Justice Society of America in terms of a new character never seen before in the Black Canary. Well, this one is the first time in, I think it's 29 years, or 28 years, because it's 1976, I believe, that a character was added to the Justice Society. This also brought the Justice Society into a 1970s book of their own. And of course, they continued the numbering from the original series. The original series became All-Star Western for a bit in the 50s, and then it was died, and the new All-Star Western came out later, but this was original numbering. It picked up with number 58. So this was the first new member of the Justice Society in a long time. And I thought that was historic. It's a small historical key, but it's a key nonetheless. It's a big key because it's a big character that's being introduced. But other than that, there's the story behind it. Next up, DC Comics presents number 49. Although Black Adam had returned before this book, this was the first time Black Adam faced someone that wasn't a member of the Shazam family, thus giving the character some serious legitimacy at the time, that because the Shazam show had been on, and it was long canceled by this point because this is a 1982 or 81 book. I think it's 82 by the 60-cent cover price by this time. But also, it made the Shazam family a little more. Before then, they were the Captain Marvel was always considered more for children than for adults, although adults liked it. And even in the 70s, when they brought Shazam back with Otto Binder and C.C. Beck, who had originally worked on the on the series back in the 40s, when they brought them back, they continued their style, even though it was updated to the 70s a bit. They still continued the same style of storytelling. This here represents a switch. The Shazam family also makes an appearance in All-Star Squadron, but Black Adam doesn't. So this is Black Adam's first appearance in a wider universe, where they were really trying to bring Shazam into the main universe. And I thought that was pretty awesome. To me, this makes it a minor key, but a little bit of historical significance behind it. Next up, we go to 1988. And this is Batgirl Special number 1. Why is this significant? This is the last Batgirl story before Barbara Gordon gets shot in The Killing Joke. In this story, she decides to hang up her outfit to begin with. But because this was the last time until the New 52 came out that you had a comic book. Well, I mean, Killing Joke, she starts off this way, but basically this was the last time she was fully able. This was the last time she could walk, she could do all of their stuff. She gets shot in The Killing Joke after about 2 pages of walking around, but you know, and that's it. She becomes Oracle for until 2011, and she doesn't walk again until 2011. So this was the last adventure of Batgirl before the Killing Joke, and that is why it's a historically significant key as far as I'm concerned. Now, in the 1960s adventure comics, the Legion of Superheroes reigned supreme. However, they moved them out in issue 380, and that was their last issue in Adventure, and they boffed them off to Action Comics, replacing Supergirl. This is Adventure Comics 381. It represents a couple of minor historical keys. One, it is Supergirl's first full-length book where she's all by herself, and it says so right here. Okay, and here she comes telling this does not happen in the book. These characters are there, but this does not happen in the book. She doesn't tell Superman off to get lost. You know? But also, this is only the sixth appearance ever of Batgirl and the first time Supergirl and Batgirl actually team up solo. So again, there's a little bit of historical, you know, key to this key. There's a little bit of it. One, Supergirl gets her own, and Supergirl becomes the first ever female character besides Wonder Woman in the DC universe to get her own full book. Yes, it was that long. There were some like fully. This is a superhero thing. There were some fully like fully model-y type books back in the 40s, 50s, or cartoony books where the character was female. But this superhero wise, this became the second time a female character had a book to herself, and it wasn't People might say Wonder Woman 151, which was the first Wonder Girl solo thing, but at the time, Wonder Girl was still teenage Diana and not a separate character, so it is different. Which also then brings us to the next one, The Brave and the Bold, number 63, Supergirl and Wonder Woman. This is the first time two heroines ever team up in DC history, and it may be the first time in superhero history. I wasn't able to find anything older, but that doesn't mean it's not there, and it just wasn't in the sources I looked. So this one, again, Supergirl is involved in a historical key that way. Supergirl and Wonder Woman team up again in Wonder Woman 177 in terms of the stories. But this was their only Brave and Bold appearance together, and it was cool, as again, is the first time two females were teamed up together. By the way, this is based solely on information that I was able to find in my research. If you know something that contradicts what I'm saying here, please do not hesitate to put it in the comments. I will make sure that somehow that information gets out, because I always, more than anything, I want the correct information out there. I'm only as good as what I can find in my research. So, saying that, we're going to jump to the only non-DC book in this pile. Avengers 144, where Patsy Walker, who has been a character up to this point for 30-some years, I don't remember exactly her first date, but I know it was in the 40s, her first appearance, because I believe it was in a Miss America book, Miss America 2, as Allan has pointed out a few times, who's had books for that period, but was never a superhero. And in this one, Avengers 144, Patsy Walker puts on an outfit, and she becomes the hoppin', amazing Hellcat. This, of course, was one of the books I had on my top 10 list to get for this year, and I was able to get it at a really decent price. So it's not in the greatest shape, but it's not bad looking either. I was just happy to get this. That is a small historically significant key. First model. You could make the argument about Betty becoming, super teen, but Betty wasn't really considered a model character. So there we go. My next one. This is Batman 440. He's unnamed in this book, but this is the first appearance of Tim Drake. And I would say, for a character that it's a historically significant book for that reason, because it is Tim Drake was a major character for most of the time period until about 2019, and then he became major character by being made the character being made bisexual and so forth. But Tim Drake, who Batman considers to be the best detective of all his Robins, makes his first appearance in this book unnamed. He gets named in the next issue of Detective Comics, and he gets named. This is a 5-part series called The Lonely Place of Dying, and it's a Detective Comics book that is the next one in the series that he gets named in. And the number is escaping me. I knew it when I wrote it and I thought I could remember it. Oops. Anyways, Tim Drake is a reasonably historic guy. I mean, everybody collects that first one as Robin with the scarecrow on the cover, the 457, Batman 457. That's the one with the 000 and the indicia in a lot of the books. But, that was his first in costume. This is his actual first appearance. Unnamed. Next up, this is the first. Okay, this is not his first comic work, but this is the first well-known comic work by this artist, and that's Todd McFarlane in All-Star Comics 47. After this, he did a 2-year run in the Infinity Incorporated books. Just after this is 1985. Yeah, July 85. And he did one small backup story for DC before this in another book. And then he did this. This was his first full book in his career. So I'm considering this a minor historical key because Todd McFarlane, of course, has gone on to become one of the most popular artists ever since. Next one up is the twofer. And this is pretty neat because this is Superboy 86, which I recently acquired and was also on my top 10 list of books I wanted to get for the year. It's the first appearance of Pete Ross, so that makes it a key. But what I find makes it an interesting historical key is the cover story. It says here, the Army of Living Kryptonite Men. Superboy gets saved from these Kryptonite men by Lightning Lad from the Legion of Superheroes. And the reason I say that, because this is January 1961, is the cover date, okay? In the last panel of this story, Luthor thinks to himself, well, if there's a legion of superheroes, there must be a legion of supervillains. And sure enough, in cover dated August 1961, for Superman 147, ta-da! The Legion of Supervillains makes their first appearance. And this, of course, is a significant key historically because one, when the Legion of Supervillains makes its first appearance, they're adult members as opposed to teenagers, which means they come from the future. And the only 3 Legionnaires, even though we know that the team is huge and whatever, but the only 3 Legionnaires they mention in here are the 3 Legionnaires that are known at that time: Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, and Lightning Lad. And we've got Lightning Lord, Saturn Queen, and Cosmic King. Which, of course, are 3 people who, and of course, it is a homage cover to the first appearance of the Legion of Superheroes. But basically, it's hilarious how they all have variants of their names and stuff, and it shows that it's pretty cool. But the fact that Luthor thought there was one there, now Luthor was a teenager in that story. Luthor is an adult here. And he goes, I've long thought that if there's da-da-da-da-da. So he finally makes a communication device to try and talk to them. And they come back in time and all that stuff. Read the story. It's pretty cool. The last historically significant key I'm going to do today is a relatively recent one. And you may or may not think it has the history yet, but I think this is going to end up, because of the success this book and books since then have had, because of this book, I think this is a very historically significant key that we're going to see in the future. And that is Absolute Batman 1. This has started off the Absolute universe for DC, which I think has 8 different titles now at the time of the recording of this. and has absolutely blown away with sales and stuff. At the time of this recording, Absolute Batman 1 has reached its 10th printing, and it's still selling out. So this book, Absolute Batman 1, I think is going to turn into major key territory in a couple of years. Right now, I still think of it as a minor key because it's been fluctuating in price so much, but definitely historical as the launch of the Absolute universe in DC. If you like these choices, please like, comment, and subscribe below. As I said earlier in the video, if I got one or two things wrong, I am happy to be corrected in the comments. Please do so. I want to thank everybody very much for joining me today. And if you want to make a video of your own, whip off a video, throw it up on YouTube, hit hashtag Friday Comic Challenge, and tag Allan, the comic collector geek, tag myself if you'd like. I want to watch it. I love these videos because you never know what books people are going to pick. Thank you very much for joining me today. My name's Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Bye, everybody.